almost went bankrupt on the Chiefs. Yeah, yeah. But we didn't. We came away with a positive week. Welcome back. Man, it wasn't quite as exciting as the week before when we added up plus 21.9 units. But we did end up positive this week to the tune of plus 1.1 units. And the great news behind that, we were getting destroyed. I had Chiefs money line in a lot of things. I gave away 5 picks on the show on Friday. None of those hit, but as I always tell you, follow at Mike Mush Sports on Twitter. I throw extra picks out there. They count. We put them in all year. We're keeping them in. I want you guys to follow, and sometimes you don't have the picks ready for the show. It's the way it goes. But both of those bonus picks did hit. I had Cincinnati and Kansas City both to score in the fourth, parlayed with 49ers plus 7.5. That came out to plus 110. We hit that. And then FanDuel gave us a same game parlay boost, which I posted, I think, Saturday night. Cooper Kupp touchdown, bingo. Deebo Samuel touchdown, bingo. Stafford over 250 passing yards, bingo. Plus 500. Wipes out all the losses. Feels very good. Even if you went, 0 for 5 and you didn't catch the Twitter, hopefully you're still up from the week before. So it happens. That's part of the strategy we've been rolling with. Take these high-priced long shot parlays, same game parlays, make sure they synergize, make sure they add up. Correlations are positive. And if you hit 1 or 2, you end up in the black. Also, it doesn't count because I didn't share it on Twitter, but I just want the fans to know, after the Chiefs lost, I threw a Hail Mary parlay of Rams money line and Niners plus 3.5 tied together. I tried to middle it, and we did. I had an argument in my group chat about how the spread should have been 2.5. The 3 makes no sense, and the 3.5 makes no sense. I would have conceded that 3 makes sense because a field goal game, of course it could have been that. It did end up being that. And, man, that cashed. So I felt pretty good at the end of the weekend, despite the fact that the Chiefs just killed us. We won a lot of these props, but since they're all tied together, the parlay doesn't hit. I was on par with a bunch of them. I said I really liked that Cam Akers under rushing total. That came through. The Kupp props all came through. Deebo looked good. Mahomes passing yards was fine. Kelsey touchdown. We hit a lot of things, but, horseshoes and hand grenades. Let's dive right in. We got to talk about these games. I had to debrief. I don't have picks for you today because we're going to get to Super Bowl and we're going to get to all this kind of stuff. But we have to debrief about these games. I got to talk through them. I have to. First of all, you got to start from the top. We'll go in chronological order. This game, I still felt would have made more sense if it was second, but I get it. Time zones. Hard to figure out. Farmers out there trying to explain to me why they exist. But Joe Burrow, you got to start with Joe Burrow. I'm really tempted to start with the Chiefs and how they choked. I could do a Spike Lee, Reggie Miller situation, but I won't. Joe Burrow is awesome. How do you not root for this guy? You got to really like him. And I know I didn't light the world on fire in this game. The stat line doesn't pop off the page as much as it probably should. But time after time, similar to the Titans game, he would be under so much pressure, and in that game they got to him 9 times. In this game, he really found the legs. It felt like he learned something from that Titans game because he was still under fire a lot of the time. I got to give the Bengals offensive line credit because he didn't get the sacks, but at the same time, they gave up a lot of pressure. And Burrow himself, really, you could tell he just feels it. There was a good example of this in the Rams game where Stafford had someone bearing down on him and did the swim move trying to sack fumble. And all he did was move from here, where he was loaded with the throw, to here. And it avoided the sack and the strip and the fumble and everything. And I saw a lot of that from Burrow, too. Just minor movements. Brady's always been awesome at that. Just kind of, even a half a step in the pocket changes a play from a sack strip to a potential touchdown or first down at least. And I saw a lot of improvement from Burrow there, so he's really feeling the pressure more. It's not going to go away, and I'm terrified about it against the Rams, if I'm being honest. But you got to give it up to Burrow, man. This guy, I mean, for a number 1 pick, he's coming through completely. getting through, he didn't have to go through Allen, but getting past Allen, getting past Mahomes, coming out of the AFC with all these insane quarterbacks and teams, no one gave them a chance. I bet against them constantly. I thought the Raiders might beat them. I really think their offensive line is an Achilles heel, and yet it just hasn't stopped them from winning. So you got to give Burrow the credit. He came through when he needed to. Higgins was a monster in this game. I really liked him. It looked like he was 7 feet tall, just snagging everything. Shades of Ocho Cinco with the jersey number, but more to me, shades of like almost like a Plaxico Burress, just going up and grabbing it where other people couldn't, high-pointing balls all over the place. It was really cool to watch. And Chase was fine. I don't think it was extraordinary, but he was doubled and bracketed the whole entire game, so he did his job. He, took the pressure away from others. I didn't put this one out there, but I had Joe Mixon over 3.5 receptions. I figured there would be a lot of dropping back in coverage, and you would get him on checkdowns. And it ended up Samaje Perine was the one, of all people, who no one even likes as a handcuff. I mean, you go to fantasy football, no one had Perine, even though everyone has handcuffs for Dalvin Cook and all the big running backs, and no one wanted Perine. He comes through with 3 receptions of his own, including a 41-yard touchdown catch. Wild. Uzomah gets hurt in this one. It looks like he might be able to come back for the Super Bowl. Who knows about that? It wasn't as bad as it seemed, but I feel bad for him. And I just wanted to kind of praise Cincinnati before I crap on the Chiefs, because it felt like it should go in that order. They did earn the win. Say what you want. They beat this Chiefs team twice, and that's enough. And they did it without... I figured that the only way Cincinnati was going to win was if Burrow put up 450 yards and they scored 40+. And that didn't happen. So why is relevant, but not quite as relevant as it is to give them credit before taking credit away from the Chiefs, I think. Also, you got to give the defense credit. I don't even know their defensive coordinator's name, which is wild. Lou Anarumo. Not a sexy game plan, but I heard stats, and I don't have them in front of me, and these may not be accurate, so take them with a heaping teaspoon of salt, but no one puts salt in a teaspoon. You just take it out of the shaker. The point is, they dropped 8 players into coverage many, many times. Like at least 20, 25, 30% of the time in the second half especially, which is when the Chiefs collapsed completely. We heard earlier in the year that the Chiefs against 2 high safeties would struggle, right? Because you're keeping everything in front of you. The safeties can control Hill a little bit. He'll be double covered over there. Kelsey might get his over the middle, but you can bracket him with a linebacker if necessary. And everyone thought that was kind of the fix. The Chiefs ended up adjusting and just saying, all right, well, then we're going to not run Hill up here because you have the 2 safeties to bracket him, right? We're going to run him short and let him catch and run because he's just as hard to tackle in the open field. He's got some, I don't want to say Deebo Samuel in him because that's disrespectful to Deebo. We'll get to him. But still, he's a load to try to bring down and try to catch on his feet. And so they adjusted to that, and it worked. But no one really was dropping 8 into coverage. A lot of people would drop 6, 7, but that 8th man made a huge difference because he could play underneath and stop some of that Kelsey stuff and some of the short Hill stuff from happening, to the point where Mahomes had to start targeting Mecole Hardman a lot. Pringle got 3 targets. Hardman had 4. And Demarcus Robinson had 3. I mean, we'll get to that. Jesus Christ. Again, I want to give Cincinnati some credit here because they deserve it. They're going to the Super Bowl. They earned it. The defensive coordinator had a game plan. They stuck to it. Drop everybody. Keep it all in front of you. And eventually, maybe Mahomes will feel uncomfortable because he won't know where to go. And that's what happened. So I'm giving them credit. I did it. We did it. Congrats. Now I got to crush the Chiefs. I got to crush them. I got to crush him. To the point where I'm wondering if Mahomes is nursing an injury or something that happened in the second half, or was he concussed? Like, it feels disrespectful to say because, like, everyone has a bad game. Again, Cincinnati deserves credit, but what is he looking at? They're dropping 8 into coverage, first of all, and Andy Reid deserves some blame too, right? It's not all just on Mahomes because run the ball. Jerick McKinnon got 12 carries, most of which came in the first half. He got 3 catches, most of which came in the first half. He was killing. Edwards-Helaire got 1 reception and 6 carries, and he looked good too. They're running the ball really well. Even Mahomes, 3 carries for 19 yards, and I know throughout all the third he didn't have a carry. Second quarter he didn't have a carry. And only late in the fourth did he get his second and third carries for 4 yards each. They never adjusted. They just kept dropping back. They kept not being rushed. Mahomes had all day back there on a lot of the plays, and he just couldn't find anyone, and he never could figure out to just take off early. Because by the time you wait, even 3 or 4 on the pass rush will get to you eventually and force you in a direction you'll want to go. He should have just dropped back and taken off. They should have done some QB draws. They should have, I think I tweeted that out at some point during the game. They should have been doing a lot more designed runs. I mean, let's look at the play-by-play, because this play-by-play is going to be something to really unfold. How many times did McKinnon was really good in the second half? I mean, in the first half. He was dominating to the point where I was like, oh, they can't stop this guy, and it's unbelievable that they weren't using him all year. So he touches the ball on the first play of the third quarter, and the third play of the third quarter. After that, how many times did he touch the ball? 0 on this drive. McKinnon for 7, that's 1. Nothing here. Nothing here. McKinnon wants 14 yards. McKinnon wants 1 yard. So that's up to 3. And I saw 1 Hilaire in there. Maybe that's 4. And that's it. 3 or 4 times you go to the player that, I don't want to say he carried them through the first quarter, but that first drive was all McKinnon, really. And design and all that kind of stuff. But why does that go away? Like, why is it completely gone? You're leading the game a lot of this time, and you're not trailing until way late. What happened? Why did they abandon everything that got them there in the first place? This is exactly like when the Rams went up 21-3 or whatever it was on the Buccaneers by throwing a ton. And then they audible, pun intended, to running the ball constantly, even though that's not working. Like, hey, what's the saying? Dance with the girl you brought or whatever the hell it is. Keep it going. It's working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's a lot of adages. I can't understand why they didn't run the ball, especially learn to adapt in the moment. Andy Reid is supposed to be good at this kind of stuff, although he's now looking like I hate to use LeBron as a negative, but people who hate on LeBron are like, oh, he's gotten to the finals a million times, but how many has he won? At this point, Andy Reid is like, you got into the championship a bunch of times, and you never really get there. His record is pretty terrible in AFC and NFC championship games, and now we thought the monkey was off the back, and now it feels like it's back somehow. His play calling was really uninspired, and Mahomes should have known too. Like, you can audible to a run. Everybody does it. Romo was probably pointing it out 1,000 times during this game. You can take off yourself. You know what you don't do? In overtime, when you win the coin toss, don't target Demarcus Robinson twice in a row and force a 3rd and 10 so that then you have to throw it deep into double coverage to Tyreek Hill, which you also didn't need to do. Puzzling decision-making from Mahomes a bunch of times. And I really think if he wasn't concussed or injured, and I'm shifting the blame away from Reid, right? If I had to put it on Mahomes, this play before the half, what is going on? I mean, there's 9 seconds left. You know they have time for at least 1 play, and if you go fast, you can do 2 plays. They rocket the first pass. They know it's not going to work. Fine. You have 5 seconds. They want to go for the second play. Okay. If you want to, they just got the first play done in 4 seconds. So if you're trusting and Reid says, okay, Pat, do what you got to do. First of all, you can't scramble. He scrambled a little before he threw to Hill. The play was already dead. The field goal was out the window before the decision to throw to the sideline. I don't see anyone talking about that. I know it's not a massive scramble, but he took a step or two. You can't even do that. It needs to be a 1-step drop, fire a slant, or fire it over his head if it's not there, and just throw it out of the back of the end zone. That was nonsensical decision-making and play calling. I hated both. So then the decision to throw it to the sideline is probably because, well, we're already screwed. The time is ticking, and I wish I could look up the video, and I don't want to get flagged on YouTube, but if you watch it, I really don't think by the time he let his pass go from his hands, I think it was already at like 2 to 1 seconds. So I think even if he throws it into the end zone and it's incomplete, we're still here like, why didn't you just kick on the play before or do a different play? So the play call is terrible, but man, the decision to throw it behind the line of scrimmage is wild also. I'd still rather force it to Kelce even if it's double coverage in the end zone. This was, I mean, momentum swing doesn't even begin to talk about it. This gave momentum to the Bengals coming out of the half to force a 3-and-out or a 5-and-out or whatever it is at the start of the half. Whereas it could have been 28-10 going into the half with the Chiefs getting the ball, and it could have been 35-10 coming out of it. That's best case scenario for the Chiefs. Even if it's not, and it's field goal, we're talking about 24-10 at halftime, 27-10 by the time the Bengals get the ball. And then guess what? The Bengals punted again after that. So this could have been 3 straight possessions with scores, none of which they scored any points. And at that point, they must have started to look around, and then the interception happens after that play. So that's 4 straight drives that they're like, what's happening here? And they're starting to get in their own head, and the defense is dropping back into coverage constantly, and they abandon the run for no reason. That's where they needed to adjust. There was still time. There was still so much time. They got away with a lot of bad things that happened and still blew it. This is... I don't want to overstate it, but this is probably the second biggest choke job I can imagine in NFL history, next to the Brady comeback against the Falcons. That is number 1. This could definitely be the biggest non-Super Bowl choke ever. And that's why I started this show by giving credit to the Bengals, because they deserve it. But you know who else deserves it? Every member of the Chiefs' offense. Their defense actually played pretty well, aside from the fact that they couldn't get the quarterback down. All right. But, man, it felt like all the ingredients were there to win. Hilaire looked good. McKinnon looked good. Throw the screen. Run the ball. Pat, you can take off and run it. You did it last week. Even if the down the field stuff isn't there, death by 1,000 cuts is fine. I know that's not the Chiefs' style, but there's no reason they can't adapt. It was really disappointing to see them lose this game. And I like Burrow. I actually like the Bengals. I mean, they lost to the Jets. You got to be kidding me that the Jets beat this team that's going to the Super Bowl, might win the Super Bowl. But it's not. I'm not anti this team. I like Chase. I like Higgins. I like Boyd. I hate Mixon. What are you going to do? Maybe he's changed. I don't know the guy. But it's just weird. I just came out of this game like, that looked like a team I didn't recognize. Patrick Mahomes had a 0, I shouldn't do this motion, 0 quarterback rating in the second half. Throw a screen. Get some yards. I still don't know why Kelce couldn't get involved. I mean, he did well. He had 10 catches for 95 yards on 11 targets. Like, I can't really fault him. But you can use him in the screen game. Like, even the stuff where it's the backup tight end taking the snap, which is asinine that they ran the week before, even that is in the playbook. So obviously they have these sweeps and designed runs and weird option plays. The Kelce pass play that they used 2 weeks ago, or maybe that was week 18, whatever it. They have all of it in the playbook. They just never tried. They just kept forcing it down the field into double coverage against 8 defenders. And there's no reason. Like, there was just never a reason for any of this kind of stuff. So it was just massively disappointing. And I don't know how else to say it. I wonder what happens with them. I hope they can shake this off. I don't know. I hope that this doesn't become, like, never assume that the window is going to be as long as you think it's going to be. Because sometimes something breaks in these teams. And now Mahomes' contract goes through the roof. You have Burrow, you have Allen, you have Herbert, all in the AFC. Who knows where Rodgers is going to go? Who knows if Brady's done? Who knows if Russell Wilson's going to go somewhere? The AFC's a bloodbath. And I'm not saying the Chiefs can't come back and be right back in it next year. They will be, in all likelihood. But still, I've learned as I got older that these windows don't last as long as you think they're going to last. And it would be a real shame to see it go out this way, because they're going to have to make hard cap decisions going into next year. And it's not going to get easier as Mahomes' contract goes up and up. So just a horrible choke job.
No pressure at all. Now
autoplay killing me. I was looking back at some of the championship games, AFC championship especially, and I just couldn't find one that was a bigger choke than this. I scrolled through pretty quickly, but yeah, I just didn't see anything that was like wildly close. Broncos Patriots, that was the Peyton Manning game, but they were just better, right? Like there were some, I'm sure there are a bunch, and I didn't go through the play-by-play of every game, but on quick scrolls, the Colts Patriots was like a back and forth shootout, right? Like I couldn't think of one that was like, oh, this team should have absolutely crushed and didn't. So yeah, I just, insane stuff, truly insane stuff happened in this game to allow the Bengals to move forward, and they deserve the credit, and Chiefs deserve the blame. And Jerick McKinnon should write a really, really strongly worded letter to Andy Reid, because, I know he's probably busy with eating cake or something, drowning his sorrows, but Jesus. Demarcus Robinson. How many catches did Demarcus Robinson have this year? I feel like he didn't even play. He had 25 receptions, but he's pretty far down the depth chart. Pringle and Hardman are ahead of him, and so he's, what, 4th? Yeah, it's just 2 plays in a row in overtime, and neither of them were like wildly open or awesome. And by the way, Mahomes almost threw a pick on one of them on a slant. He just looked bad. That's why I'm wondering, is there an injury? Was he not right? I couldn't notice a play where it happened, but it was ugly. I got to give it up to the refs, though. They really, both games, there were more penalties in the second game, but rightfully so. The refs really let him play. We mentioned it in the Friday show, how that ref crew is really generally lets them play, and in the playoffs they really do. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. Let's move on to the other game. Jimmy G, you know what? Let's start with the Rams. Same thing. You guys start with the game that's getting there. But it's hard not to rip the Niners here. I'm sorry. The Rams won the game. They didn't run the ball well. I didn't expect them to. The unders hit in that one. Stafford played well. Kupp was open the whole entire game. We hit on all those props, although they didn't really cash for much. Beckham was open the whole game. This Niners secondary was a fraud for a long time. I've been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it proved to be true. Their front seven is awesome, but this team was defensively built a lot more like the Buccaneers than people gave them credit for. Look, 20 catches and 255 yards and 2 touchdowns for the top 2 receivers. And Higbee would have crushed them if he stayed healthy. Kendall Blanton was killing them down the field. Van Jefferson didn't even need to do much. And Ben Skrowonek, I don't know how to say it, sorry, dropped a touchdown. So this, and Eric Weddle was dominating, by the way. What the hell? But this was just, Stafford had a huge advantage, and they should have won by more, I thought. But this is what the Niners do to you. They play well, they run the ball well, they do power football. They didn't really run the ball well, actually, in this one. I was disappointed by what I saw from Mitchell, but they stopped giving him the ball in the second half. That I didn't understand either. The real thing I want to get to, there's not as much to praise with the Rams here as there is to kill the Niners for. And this was a close, good game, I get it. I just don't feel the need to praise Stafford as much as Burrow. Maybe that's stupid. I just thought his guys were like always wide open down the field. You know what I mean? And he played great. He avoided the big mistakes for the most part. There's nothing to take away from Stafford. I'm happy for him. He gets out of that Lions situation. They go to the Super Bowl, this super team. I don't think the Rams are unlikable, really. Aaron Donald played well. Ramsey, all these guys. Sony Michel got more run, although did nothing. This is pretty much how I expected this game to go for the most part. But Jimmy looked pretty bad the whole game, which I expect him to be the guy that's 5 great passes, 1 oh my god, I'm terrified pass. And he led the league in that. I mean, he led the world in those yesterday. Well, unless it was a hospital ball over the middle to Debo where he's getting destroyed as soon as he catches it. I saw a bunch of those. It was way off target. It was puzzling decision making. It was bad. It was really bad. And I have not been on his side for a long time now. I said after like week 3 they should have gone to Lance. That was obviously wrong. But now this experiment is over, right? He's not an experiment. They got to the Super Bowl and they got to the championship game, and it's all well and good. This is a better season than they expected to have, but the Jimmy thing is done here. You got to wonder if Lance is actually the guy. I heard on Bill Simmons' podcast today that they were talking about Brady going there because since he's from there for 1 more year, that would be crazy if that happened. But in any case, here's where I think they messed up. And I'm sure I could do more. And I want to talk about Debo, and I want to talk about Kittle, and the fact that they'll have a new quarterback, blah, blah, blah. We'll get to that forever. But this... it wasn't this one. It was... Where was the punt? Where was the one that they looked like they were going to go for it? I guess it was... Here. Yeah. So there's 9.5 minutes. And 3rd and 2. They're up 3. But at this point that field goals don't mean that much. Nobody plays for field goals anymore, especially in the playoffs. 4th down feels like a given if you're in the right territory to go for it. And you have this team that predicates itself on power football. You can just give Debo the ball, and if it doesn't work, then fine. But you're up 3. 3rd and 2 from the Rams 45. I mean, McVay making some crazy challenges, by the way. I don't know what he's doing. But you run the fullback up the middle for no gain. Probably the least creative play from an ultra-creative coach. I don't know how you don't have a better play call in the book. These should be your best 2 play calls in the book. Because if you continue this drive, even if you don't score the touchdown, continue the drive, milk 4 more minutes off the clock. You get to 4th and 2, remove the Kyle Juszczyk play. Respect for anyone with an SZ name in their last name. 4th and 2, they line up like they're going to go for it. First of all, Jimmy doesn't even hard count. He just sits there until the time clock runs out as if they're just going to go off sides on their own. I don't understand that. And then you don't have a play you're confident in to gain 2 yards with the Super Bowl on the line? They punt? I hated that. I don't... Kupp and Odell were open the whole game. You're punting and trusting your secondary for what? And ironically, Tart gets the pass in his lap and can't corral it. I feel terrible for him because he's a pretty good player. And I don't think catching the ball is his strong suit. He's going to make big hits. He made good plays after that drop. I mean, tough for him. And that would have probably won the game. So it's hard to get on them too much, but they're separate things, right? You got to stick with what you knew in the moment. And to me, being up 3, giving them the ball back to be able to go down the field and do whatever they want because Kupp is wide open constantly. And if you double him, Beckham is open constantly. And if you double him, you got a 3rd string tight end who's still killing you. I don't understand what they thought about. The Rams are never going to run the ball in this upcoming drive. You're punting up 3. It's too much trust. It's too much for anyone. It has nothing to do with the Niners D. It has nothing to do with the Rams offense. I mean, it does. You should have known better because of this game alone. But still, remove all that. It's still crazy. You got to go control your own destiny. You got to go score. That's what the league has been about for a while now. What don't they understand? You don't have a play that can get Debo free for 2 yards? You do. I know you do. It's the same thing as the Chiefs. It's like, where are all the plays in the playbook? What are you saving them for? This is the time to go make those plays. If you don't trust Jimmy to make the throw, then you don't trust him to be your quarterback at all. It bothered me that they punted there. I thought that was waving a white flag and saying, well, if the Rams come down and score, then maybe we'll get the ball again and come down and score ourselves. Meanwhile, then you're relying on a whole drive instead of just gaining 2 yards. And you know what? Worst case, you don't pick up the 2 yards. The Rams get the ball at the 45, and they ended up getting the ball at the 15 anyway. Were those, I mean, I know that's bad and all, but did you think you were going to stop them from even getting a field goal? Because if you did, that was pipe dream land, baby. That was Super Mario with all the pipes that I saw. That is, you're not going to. Kupp was open the whole game. And then on that drive, deep pass to Beckham, they gained the 30 yards immediately. So going for it wouldn't hurt you at all, because one play later, you give up a 30-yard pass and a 15-yard penalty. So they gained more than that. And then Kupp gets open. And Jefferson was open twice, he got missed. And then Beckham makes a catch. It's a miracle they didn't score a touchdown there. They really should have. I don't know why they threw a short pass to Sony Michel on 3rd and 3. You know, they could have scored the touchdown and put this game away earlier. So you got lucky with that. But this is a puzzling decision that not enough people are talking about. You got to go for it on that 4th down. I really didn't like it. And then they get the ball back. Incomplete to Kittle. Delay of game. Incomplete to Ayuk. Incomplete to Travis Benjamin. Debo didn't touch the ball on the drive to go to the Super Bowl. How many times did Debo touch it in the second half? Incomplete to Debo. Debo right tackle. Debo up the middle. Let's disregard that drive because they used him here. I know that's just cherry picking stats, but I just want to see at what point he stopped being used. And maybe it was the injury he sustained from getting crushed over the middle. I get it, but if he's out there, he's out there. So the 7:13 mark, he touched it in the 3rd. 12:42 in the 4th. And then that's it. Doesn't even get a target or a touch. Not a target or a touch. Since the 12:42 mark in the 4th quarter where he caught a 12-yard pass. I don't get it. I don't get it. And Kittle just pulls disappearing acts too. I'm sorry. I really like him. And I know he's asked to block a lot. And I said on the Friday show that he would go into this game having to block a lot because they have to figure out a way to slow down this pass rush of the Rams. I feel like Chris Collinsworth, he couldn't say it yesterday, and neither can I. Point is, if you need to get a second blocking tight end, and they run a lot of 2 tight end sets, by the way. So they're already doing this. But if you need to get a better blocking tight end to open up Kittle to go down the field a little more because he's basically your second receiver, then you got to do that. Because you have a guy that can pull games like... Where's the game log? Back-to-back games in December. 15 receptions, 151 and a touch. 12 receptions, 181 and 2 touches. And this guy in the playoffs went 1 catch, 3 yards, 4 catches. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 catch, 18 yards, 4 catches, 63 yards, and 2 catches, 27 yards. That's your stud. That's your guy. There was just so much to be left desired with the play calling in this game for a guy that's supposed to be this genius in Shanahan, and I'm always up and down on him. Sometimes he shows it. Sometimes he chokes it. And this time he choked it. And I don't know what to say. I feel bad for Debo. He left it all on the field. So did Fred Warner, aside from that weird hit he had on Stafford. That was ugly. He had a couple of plays that were like a little, what are you doing, man? But I really feel bad for Debo. He should get MVP votes. I'm so big on that guy. I bought his rookie card I'm into collecting sports cards a little bit, and I just feel like his stock is just skyrocketing. He put this team on his back. They had no business getting as far as they did without him. And he just does everything. And him being the last person on the bench, it looked like he was the last guy in the stadium. And Odell Beckham coming over to him and consoling him because he knows how much he just put into that game, and he deserves better. The more I thought about the Brady thing for the Niners, the more I thought, like, oh my God, if you gave him Debo and Kittle, like, you got to be kidding me with the short stuff he could do. But they need a quarterback like that. I don't know if Lance is the guy. Maybe he is. Maybe he improves. Maybe he's not. But Jimmy was a letdown. The play calling was a letdown. The defense played well, aside from the secondary. I mean, the fact that they only gave up 20 points and Kupp had 11 for 142 and Beckham had 9 for 113 and Kendall Blanton crushed you. That's insane that they only gave up 20. Their front seven deserves a lot of respect, but their secondary needs some upgrades. They need upgrades. They got this far. It's cool, but they choked in a different way than the Chiefs did, and it was hard to see. So I'm not trying to paint this picture like the Rams backed in and the Bengals backed in and whatever, but I'm forced to take some credit away from the losing teams more than I want to, because generally I want to give credit to the winning teams, but I saw what I saw. And it was a tough pill to swallow for the fan bases and stuff. You know who else is a tough pill to swallow? The city of St. Louis and the city of Cleveland. I work with a lot of Cleveland fans. Tough day for them watching Cincinnati go to the Super Bowl. Ouch. They thought they had the number one pick quarterback that was going to be the guy. Turns out not so much. Burrow's the one in the state of Ohio. And the Rams going to L.A., abandoning St. Louis, and then going right to the Super Bowl. Do St. Louis people root for the Rams? I don't think so. I hope the Cardinals have a good season for you. That's, yeah. It's a tough day. It's a tough day. It was an interesting round of games, no doubt about it. I needed to get some of that off my chest because I felt like some of these items people weren't talking enough about. The specific play calls, the big moments. It's one or two plays. It's one or two plays that can make or break your season, can make or break how we remember these games going, can make or break who goes to the Super Bowl, who wins the Super Bowl. That Chiefs play before the half. The Chiefs' entire second half, really, so that bucks the trend. But the Chiefs play before the half and the Niners play on 4th down and 2, right over midfield, are the ones that really stand out to me as extremely negative plays that can kill you and can ruin a legacy and can change careers. And you really, it's hard to put into words how much each of these plays matter and how much the coaches have an impact in football. And I'm sitting here trying to think of positive plays for both teams. And I'm having a harder time than pointing out the negative. And maybe that says something about the world and myself or whatever. But I couldn't help but feel like these games were lost more than they were won. But hey, it doesn't matter. You get there how you get there. And this is what my point is. People are going to remember who wins the Super Bowl. They're not going to remember as much about who lost the AFC and NFC championship. That's not the way it goes long term. So you got to avoid those losses, and that's part of winning, is avoiding the loss. And that's exactly what the Bengals defensive coordinator did, avoiding losing by dropping 8 into coverage. It doesn't have to be sexy. Avoid the loss. And that's what the Rams did by just constantly throwing to Kupp and Beckham, picking on the secondary, abandoning the run when you have to because it's not working. And, avoid the loss. That's the moral of the story. And 2 teams did and 2 teams didn't. And so now we'll have the Super Bowl. I don't know if anyone thought it was going to be Bengals-Rams, but here we are. It's going to be exciting. There's a lot to talk about. Rams are going to play at home. Burrow's going to come in there, chip on his shoulder, ready to rock like he always does. He's got the pedigree to win championships at the college level. Stafford doesn't have any of that. Stafford's going to be doing the same kind of thing, I think, targeting Kupp down the field. Bengals defense has to be up to the task, but if they shut down the Chiefs, I don't see who they can't shut down. You wonder if they have a different play call. I don't think they're going to drop as many into coverage here. because the Rams will figure that out and will run the ball, whereas the Chiefs just didn't. They have a lot of film. They have 2 weeks to prepare for one another, and we got time to talk about that. We'll do another show this week. I don't know if it will be football-centric. I don't think it will be. I kind of am eager to do a basketball show, so I think we'll slip an NBA one in later this week. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, leave a comment, join the live chat to comment in there, and most importantly, hit the notification bell. I mean, they're all important. Help the algorithm, you know, but hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. I think I will do an NBA one later this week, and then we'll do 2 shows on football next week. One will be prop-centric earlier in the week, probably, and one will be the final picks and the actual game analysis, and I'm not quite there yet the day after these games finished, but there's your debrief. If you agree, if you disagree, leave the comments down here. I'll reply to them, I promise, and we'll see you later in the week. Peace out.